Hi, this is Amber's husband.
Now please watch part number 3, our final on this topic.
Of why we're using boosters in our current vaccine campaign.
So let's go back to the beginning real quick. Antibodies are the guards against attack, and they recognize only one small part of an intruder. They recognize, we started with the cartoon that they recognize the pointy end of the spike protein. So I want to expand this a little bit and answer questions about, is it okay to mix the boosters? If you got Moderna in your primary series, is it okay to switch to Pfizer for your booster and vice versa? Or is it maybe better to actually mix and match your boosters? So with this enlarged antigen spike protein, our original antibodies recognize the pointy end of the spike protein. And let's pretend that that's produced by the Pfizer vaccine. And let's pretend, just for the sake of interest, that the Moderna recognizes the inside of the arrow shape of the spike protein. Now, of course, these are just cartoons, but the point here is real. The antibodies that are produced are likely to be recognizing slightly different parts of the antigen protein, in this case, the spike protein. So the thinking goes that if you had your primary vaccine that was Moderna, maybe it would be better to have your booster shot in Pfizer so that it's producing antibodies that recognize a slightly different part of the spike protein. And that way you'll have antibodies produced to different parts. You have a better chance of recognizing the intruder protein. The way I think of this is that if your guards, the antibodies, have different photographs, they are much more likely to recognize an intruder, even if that intruder is wearing a disguise. Even if it's difficult to recognize the intruder, the more photographs you have from different angles, the more likely you are to successfully recognize the intruder and attack. So, we don't have science to prove what I just said is actually better. It is reasonable, and you will hear immune experts talking about the possible advantage of mixing and matching your vaccine and your boosters, but we have not actually received enough experimental data to prove whether that is better. So at this point, the only recommendation we can make from the existing data is that we think it is okay to do either one, to either stick with the original vaccine as your booster, or to switch to a different vaccine for use in your booster. We think both are okay. We think both are medically reasonable. We may eventually find out that it's better to mix boosters, or we may find out that it is not as good. I just don't know yet. So the second question I've received is about how the vaccines work against Omicron, why they don't seem to work quite as well, and why we would be using boosters of the original vaccines if they don't work as well. So let me explain. The Omicron variant of the COVID virus has mutations to the spike protein. It has quite a few mutations. Most of them don't matter at all, and we don't know exactly how these mutations affect overall body response. But we do not have any vaccines that are specifically produced in order to allow your body to create antibodies that will exactly fit the Omicron spike protein variants. And so what we want to do is instead, since we do not have that yet, what we want to do is produce so many circulating antibodies that even the Omicron variant will likely be attacked by some of the antibodies. Now, you notice here I've only attached antibodies to 4 of the 6 spike proteins, and that's because of the variation in the spike protein. The antibodies will never attack as efficiently as they did to the original strain of the virus. However, if you have so many circulating antibodies, they will attack enough of the spike proteins that it reduces the chances that the virus particle will ever be able to attach to the human cell. Because of these mutations in the spike protein, it does not reduce your chance as much as the vaccines reduced your chance to the original strain, but it definitely does reduce your chance. And even if a few of these get into the human cell and begin replication, then when they release, there will be enough circulating antibodies that many of those will also be attacked. And you will be able to slow down or stop an infection. And this is why we say that having the boosters dramatically reduces your chances, even with Omicron, of ever ending up infected, reduces your chances of ending up hospitalized, and reduces your chances of ending up in the ICU or dying, even from an Omicron infection, because you will have so many circulating antibodies that even the Omicron variant cannot get a good hold. And that's why about 95% of the coronavirus patients who are ending up in the intensive care unit of hospitals are the people who are completely unvaccinated. The people who have completed their series and had boosters have a very low chance of ending up that sick that they end up in the hospital and in the ICU.